Welcome to the Adult Algorithm Podcast, the How to Adult podcast.
First of all, if you don't have a planner, get one.
I don't know
This
how
ain't
you
high school.
I don't know how you survive.
There will be no sugarcoating whatsoever.
This is the hashtag No Sugarcoating podcast.
And I'm your host, Jasmine Johnson.
You're like the best influence and the worst influence all in one.
Are you ready to grow into your potential? What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Adult Algorithm, the How to Adult podcast with your host, Jasmine Johnson. Hi, I'm so excited to be back this week after 3 long weeks of the end of the semester and finals, and boom, it is done. I am almost done with my undergrad. 1 more year, and then I go on to my master's, but that's a whole nother story. I'm just so glad to be done, and I'm so glad to be back on the podcast and come back with a bang. Of course, we have a brand new topic for the month of May. We have a brand new episode, and we have a brand new amazing guest that you guys are going to absolutely love. You guys are going to love her. She's literally iconic, such a boss bitch. We're going to get to her in 1 second. This month, we are talking about hashtag no sugarcoating. As you know, that is one of our favorite sayings on this whole entire planet on this podcast. That's what adulting is all about. That's how you learn adulting. It's the no sugarcoating, learning from other people's mistakes. And that is what we're here for. And that is what we chose as our topic for May. What better way to start off than having someone on who is literally the queen of no sugarcoating. Her name is Natasha. She's an amazing author, and she wrote a book called Shit Adults Never Taught Us. I mean, name a better match. Name a better duo. I'll wait. And with that being said, who better to use for our small business / platform highlight of the week? We are highlighting the book Shit Adults Never Taught Us by Natasha, and let's look a little bit at her synopsis that she wrote. A snapshot review of the things you didn't learn in school in quick, hilarious chapters. Wouldn't it be awesome if life had a manual? Not for your daily how-tos like cooking or ironing, but for when the real shit pops up. The money shit we have no idea how to navigate, like navigating a raise or buying a car. The relationship shit that slaps us in the face as we turn it into full-fledged adults, like surviving a gut-wrenching breakup and having the courage to fall in love. The mind fucks that sneak into our brain after puberty like a ninja and set up camps of anxiety, loneliness, and regret. The life shit that somehow was completely ignored throughout more than a decade of schooling, like protecting your privacy online, traveling on any budget, and finding motivation when it seems impossible. If that wasn't enough for you guys, good, because you're going to hear more for this episode, and then you're going to buy the book because it is absolutely amazing. I'm so excited to learn so much from her, and you guys are going to absolutely love her and her energy in this episode. And get ready, because it's a hashtag no sugarcoating episode. It really is. So without further ado, let's jump right into the episode.
Hi. So I'm Natasha. I wrote a book called Shit Adults Never Taught Us, and it is 98 chapters split over 4 sections: career and money shit, relationship shit, mind shit, life shit. And it covers all the things that parents and teachers and the adults above us left out, not for any fault, I think, of their own, just because they didn't know what our world was going to be like. Yes. With technology. Like, they taught us from what they know. They didn't teach us hoping to hold information back, but teachers taught to a test, like a standardized test that they had to stick to a curriculum. And parents taught us from what they knew growing up, and a lot of that has changed. People don't stay in jobs for 40 years. People don't get married at 19 and live with that person forever. People don't suppress their mental health and mental well-being the way that we used to. And all of that is what I address.
Yes. And I love that you dedicated the book to your parents, but also the internet, because like, that's so true. So very true.
I mean, my parents did the best they could, but the internet really filled in the gaps.
That is awesome. Well, thank you, Natasha, so much for coming on today. I'm so excited for you to talk a little bit more about your book. And I have some amazing questions that me as well as viewers are definitely going to want to know. And the first one is, this book is everything, first of all. Thank you for writing it, because we need it in this world.
Thank you.
Can you explain to the viewers, I know you mentioned the 4 parts, but what made you choose those 4 parts to break it down into?
That was really where everything fell. So I had a bunch of chapters. I maybe like, I want to say a dozen chapters written by the time it formulated itself. So I was able to say, these are the top topics that have to be discussed.
Yeah.
And they fell into these categories. And then every chapter I wrote after that fell into one of those 4 categories. So I kept thinking, like, if it needs more, I can add more sections or whatever it may be, but everything fell naturally into those. And when I was done, I realized that it's just because those are the things that most affect us in life. Career and money is what we do. Relationships is how we connect to the world. Mind is who we are, and life is how we live. And so everything fell into that.
Wow. That was like poetry right there.
Thank you. That's really sweet.
That's awesome. And it's really important because, I mean, for this podcast as well, we have like topics every month, and it's like the same thing. It's like breaking it down just makes it so much easier to
This is the most broken down book you can get. So every single chapter is like 2 to 3 pages. I think there's maybe a handful of chapters that are 4 pages. There's also a handful of chapters that are 1 page. I wanted it to be bite-sized. It's all funny. It's my life. So it's stories from my own life of like life lessons I've learned, failures, like epic failures, and things that like I wish I had learned, but I still lived through it. And I want people coming up to understand, like, you don't have to do it this way. It's not that hard.
Yes.
And then at the end of, like, since they're 2 to 3 bite-sized little chapters, I put checklists at the end of about half of the chapters, which help you, because I find most self-help books for me, I read them, I put them down, and I'm like, yay, I'm a changed person. I read a book and now my life is different. And then you don't actually do the stuff in the book.
Right.
So I made chapters with checklists. So I'm like, cool, you read it, congrats. Now you actually have to go out and do the stuff that's in the book. So your life can change and you can grow.
Yes, absolutely. And you mentioned that it's funny. First of all, it is hilarious. But the funniest part is the title. Like, when did that hit you? Shit Adults Never Taught Us. When did that hit you? And was it like, did it come easy? Did you have to think for a while?
It was my working title because I didn't know what I was writing. Like, I just started writing and I didn't know what it was going to be. So when I wrote it, the working title was just like, it's just Shit Adults Never Taught Us. Like, I was like, I'll figure it out later. It's just Shit Adults Never Taught Us. And then when I was done and I was editing it, I was taking little quotes from it. Like, maybe that's the book title. Or I was finding like inspiration from the world, being like, like when we used to make jokes as teenagers, being like, that's my album's title, or the title of my memoir. And I was like, I have come up with so many jokes that would be the title of my memoir. And now I've written a memoir and I don't know what the book title should be. And so I probably went through like 20 or 30 names, but I kept this one included and I would send them all to friends and I'd be like, what's your favorite? What's your favorite? Or like, send me your top 3. I sent them to my family, my friends, anybody. And it always came back as the working title. And it was like, I was fighting it hard. And then I gave up.
Come on.
Eventually the universe was like, that's the title of the book. Stop. Just let it be.
Yes, that's awesome. You're like trying to push it away. You're like, all right, yeah, that's nice. But what's your actual favorite? And I just kept
Everybody was like, no, it's still not better. Like, I would send 10 new ones. I'd be like, guys, I got it now. I've definitely got the title. It's in here somewhere. And they would be like, you're right. It's still in here. But it's still the working title. Like, these aren't better. I had some good ones. Maybe one day down the road, the other ones could be a book, but we'll see.
Ooh, don't get me hyped up.
Oh yeah, right. For now, I'm like, this is where my concentration is.
Yes, absolutely. And what do you think? I know this is going to be a hard question, but what, either you can say one or your top 3 are your favorite chapters to write, were your favorite chapters to write, and why?
Oh, that is really hard. My favorite chapters to write were the ones that at that moment were like the most pressing. But some of them were fun to write and I didn't even anticipate it. And some of them I thought were going to be fun to write and were just so hard. Like the career and money section, I actually really wrote first and put first, because it's so boring when you learn about it in school.
Yes.
And it was like all the stuff that I didn't want to have to relearn and in adult life.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also the most important. So I did learn it. And the way I wrote it is I wrote it quick and funny and like I don't know the best way to describe it, but like digestible.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I wrote it. But doing all the research and everything that went into it felt like school again.
Oh
Because
no.
I wrote what I knew, but then every chapter I had to Google to make sure it was like 100% right still. And like, even after I published the book, things change. So like I published about high yield savings accounts, and during the pandemic, high yield savings accounts interest rates have dropped a little bit because the economy has dropped. Or like I wrote about global entry. Global entry used to be $100 for 5 years, and then in January they raised it to $120 for 5 years.
Wow.
And I'm like, great, now you're just making my book irrelevant. Thanks. But there were things like that. Like I loved talking about the relationship in the mind section because I really felt like the mind section has the most amount of chapters. There's 30 chapters. And that was because I kept going. Like I just couldn't stop. I would write one chapter and then I would be like, oh no, wait, what about this? And then I would go write that chapter. And then a different day would hit me a different way. And I'd be like, okay, these are still relevant. But then also, what if you're feeling this one day? Or what if there's this? And so there's some things like there's chapters on anxiety, depression, but then there's all, and like overthinking, catastrophic thinking. But then there's also chapters on like trusting change and knowing what to settle for. And it was just like, as I wrote the book, I kept living my life and things would come up.
Wow, that's awesome. And that's how readers are going to connect. You already know this, but that's how readers are going to connect the most because it's so genuinely authentic. And
It's my life. Like there's no way to not have it be authentic. I didn't sugarcoat anything.
Yes.
Sugarcoating. I didn't sugarcoat anything. And I got really real with like my own struggles with anxiety and my own health issues, my own life choices, my relationships, especially like the career and money mistakes that I made when I was younger, because nobody learns from someone having a perfectly tidy life.
Mm-hmm.
And you like people think they do, right? Like we scroll through Instagram and we're like, oh my gosh, that girl is so pretty and put together. I'm going to ask her what her skincare routine is and I'm going to become just like her. And then that never happens. And what actually makes you grow and become a real person is when somebody's like, dude, I fucked up so bad. Here's what I did. And you're like, great. So I'll never make that mistake. But in order to not make that mistake, I have to do this to prevent it. And that's how you grow. And that's how you become a better person. Like in writing this book, the one thing that I definitely realized is I'm not special. There's nothing about me that's special because all the things that I've been through, all 98 chapters, other people can relate to. Other people have been through them or will go through them. And I did not write this as a novel.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote this as a guide. It's like life's little manual. So you're not meant to read it cover to cover. You're meant to read the chapters that are relevant to you today. You put it down. Next week, you pick it up. Different chapters will be relevant. Maybe in a month or a year, you pick it up and you read the same chapters, but your life has changed. Your circumstances have changed. So you read it from a different mindset. Like it's meant to sort of be a guide. And your life is going to constantly change, just like mine has and will continue to. So you're always going to read it in a different way. You're going to relate to it in a different way. So there's nothing in here that's unique to me. That's why I wrote it as sort of a memoir / self-help book. Is it's got to be relatable because everybody goes through the same stuff at some point or another.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. That's so important. And when do you think you realized that these values were not taught to everyone and that you needed to help being a part of everyone navigating that?
I would say that came up pretty gradually over my life because it felt weird, right? Like when I was in school, I would constantly question the things we were doing.
Yeah.
And most of that was because I hated school. Like I hated being in school.
Mm-hmm.
So I would be like, why am I dissecting a frog? And everybody just wrote me off as like, oh, well, she hates school. So of course she's complaining. And I complained a lot. I was like, this is ridiculous. Why are we learning it? But then I became an adult and I wrote a book where I articulated like, why did I have to dissect a frog, but never learned my own biology, autoimmune disorders, things that can come up in your own life. Like, why did I have to learn to run in PE every year, but nobody taught me meditation or ways to calm anxiety or mental health things? Like, I understand physical education. You run, you get stronger. You don't run, you don't get stronger. But like, why did nobody teach us that? They taught us a little bit about this is anxiety, this is depression. But if you were like me, you got like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I had to learn to run every year of PE. And I'm like, I got it. I get it. I know how to do it. Thank you. I'm so glad you guys spent all this money on this track, but really, I get it. I don't understand why we didn't learn meditation, or we didn't learn, even like in this book, I have a couple in the calm anxiety section. I have like half a dozen short tricks that aren't meditation, but like a grounding technique or a 3-3-5 breathing technique, or like there are things in here that it would have taken a week to learn in school and could have calmed people's anxiety so much earlier than like I learned it in my late 20s.
Yeah, exactly.
How amazing would it have been to get through finals in school if I had known a breathing technique to do right before my test to physically calm my body? Like, if you breathe in for 3 seconds, hold it for 3 seconds, breathe out for 5 seconds, you are physically calming your body if you do that for a minute or two.
Yeah.
If somebody had told me that while I was taking finals, and they're like, you have an hour, and in the middle I start to spiral and get really anxious because I don't know it, taking 2 minutes in the middle of a test to do that would have changed so many of my grades. Like, I would have been such a better student. But everybody was like, you got to learn this, just learn it for the test and then go run. And that was my school.
And then go run. You know where?
And then go run.
Yeah, exactly. You know where we actually learned meditation and, you know, things to help through that time, like especially finals? My chorus class.
Yes.
Crazy.
Liberal arts will help you with breathing because it's able to get into your diaphragm so that you can actually sing and you can access that. But even beyond that, you learn it because they're facilitating something. So you learn it in your chorus class because it facilitates the opening so you can sing. But like, they never teach you that you can apply that to other parts of your life.
Yeah.
They never teach you all the ways you can apply the things you're learning to real life. Like algebra, they're like, you're going to use algebra all the time. Trust me. And then I grow up and I'm like, where
is it?
Please tell me. And if they had told you, if they'd given you real life examples of investing, taxes, 401ks, right? Like, I don't know about you, but I didn't know what the fuck a 401k was. I had heard it. I knew that investing was like guys in suits on Wall Street did investing, but like, that's it, fancy investing. Nobody told me unfancy investing was you download an app and you just have fun. When I first started investing, I was in my mid-20s and I was gifted like a couple $100 and I put that in the Robinhood and I was like, well, this is just like gambling. It's just like play money. It's the same as if I went to a roulette table or a slot machine. So I bet on like funny sounding ticker names. So like Nugget, which was gold, or Ha, which was Hawaiian Airlines. It sounds like you're laughing. Or like, I think I did like 5 different ones. And then they slowly started going up and I was making like nothing. You just make like little bits of cents a day. But it was fun. And it was like, then I learned how to invest. And when you start doing it, you learn a little bit more and a little bit more. And then you can start investing for real. But if you start sooner rather than later, it teaches you what you need to know before you get to the point where you need it. So like, if you're using that as a down payment on a house to invest, you're probably too late if you're figuring that out right before you want to buy a house. But if you played with it in college with like $20, and then all of a sudden, by the time you leave college, pardon me, by the time you leave college, you have like $60. You're like, oh wait, I figured out how to invest. Now I can do it with real money when I have a job.
Yes.
Why did we not learn this?
Exactly. I completely understand because, again, like I took a personal finance class in high school, and that's still not the stuff we learned.
No, personal finance was like, have a savings account or balance a checkbook, which is like, not like Capital One does that for me. But I don't understand. Right. Like, that's what I'm saying is parents and teachers taught us from what they know, and
Yep.
they knew balancing a checkbook. They didn't know checking your credit purchases online or on an app because they didn't have that.
Mm.
And they didn't know like investing through an app because they didn't have that.
Yep.
High yield savings accounts when they were younger were much different than they are for us now. And unfortunately, the rates are dropping pretty drastically,
Right.
but high yield savings rates will go back up. And even at like 0.5%, your bank is at like 0.05%.
Mhm.
So congratulations, you made 2 cents every month where you could have made like $40.
Yeah.
Like, of course, it depends on what you put in, but it's always based on everybody's personal finances.
Mm.
It's got to be up to you. There are certain high yield checking accounts where if you have direct deposit and you use your debit card more than your credit card, it makes more sense to have a high yield checking account. So there are just certain things where I'm like, you guys, what were we learning in school?
Yep. Absolutely. You should become a professor.
One day, we'll see. I don't want to, like, here's the thing. I wrote a book that can go in anybody's house, anybody's bookshelf. If you're a
True.
professor, you teach like 20 people at a time. And
Mhm.
like, I don't like preaching. I don't like being a preachy person. Even when I was writing certain chapters, like, I hope this book doesn't come across preachy at all
No.
because it truly is just a memoir that's like my own personal failures. But as I was writing certain chapters, it's like, oh, like I hate that I have to tell people how to do this because it feels so like icky. I just wanted it to be something that was a guide and a tool for people to use. And I also used it as a jumping off point. Like I said, like everything's 2 to 3 pages. So like the high yield savings, we just talked about high yield checking. Checking isn't in the book, but if you Googled high yield savings and you're like, these aren't quite right for me, and then you decide to do a high yield checking, like you got the same concept down. You've read the chapter, you understand the concept, and then when you're Googling it and you find something that works better for you, you at least have the foundation. That's all that it's meant to be, is just the core foundation.
Yes. Love that. I literally had no idea what it was. And like, I'm still obviously learning. Like, I'm taking this podcast and the time to interview people because I also want to learn. So that's so important because I had no idea what a high yield saving account was. Like, what?
But
No.
like it costs no money. It's just when you want your money to make money,
Yeah, absolutely.
like I think of it as sort of like charging rent. So I put all my money in this bank account and then I'm just going to charge it a little bit of rent to sit there
That's
and
awesome.
stay. And it's only like if you put a couple $1,000s in, you'll make a couple of dollars a month.
Mm.
And it also, for me, I write in the book, like sometimes when you have money in a savings account that you can touch, pretty things in pretty shops start to look really pretty. They look way shinier and way prettier when you have the money for them.
Mhm.
Where my high yield savings account takes 3 to 5 business days to transfer to my checking account. So I have to think about it. Like I can't just walk in and be like, oh, I want to buy this. No, I have to want it and like think about it. And
Yeah.
sometimes I will think I really badly want that like super giant big screen TV. And then I'll transfer the money and I'll watch the account amount go down. And I'm like, I don't want the TV
Never
anymore.
mind.
Never mind.
It looks good.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Love that. Thank you so much for that. We just had a career development month, and in your Accept That Dreams Take Work chapter, you mentioned excuses.
Yes.
What is your advice for getting past the excuses?
The excuses are anything that prevent you from doing it. So just know that you're not the only one doing it. Whatever it is that your dream is, you're not the only one.
Mm.
You're running a race. And if the guy next to you in the race does one thing every day for his dream, his career, he's running it a little bit faster than the person that doesn't do something every day. So if you're you want to be an actress, you want to be a singer, you want to be a writer, you want to be an athlete, you want to be a doctor, you want to be anything that you want to advance to, you have to do something a little bit every day. I'm not saying it's got to be a lot, but it's got to be something. So
Yeah.
let's take like being a writer. If you want to be a writer, you write a paragraph every day, 10 minutes, 15 minutes every day. You want to be a singer? Sing, submit to casting calls, go to open mic nights, learn new songs, figure out a new instrument. You want to be an athlete, you practice every single day. And if you want to be a doctor, you want to be anything in the whole world, takes knowledge and it takes practice. And doing one thing every day, picking up a book, reading an article, doing something every day doesn't just advance you personally and teach you something, it also keeps you motivated. So if you say, I'm going to do 10 to 15 minutes a day, every day from 5 to 5:30 is my dreams half hour, and I do something for my dreams, then at the very least, you are motivated for half an hour a day.
Yeah.
And you won't lose the momentum because you built it in. It's kind of like working out. Like the second you stop working out, it's hard to get back in it. But once you start working out, it sort of becomes like, okay, I can do this. Like I used to be the person that would hate to go to the gym, but then once I went to the gym, I would stay there for 2 hours because I was like, I drove here.
Yep.
I put on a sports bra and pants. Like I'm doing this.
Yes.
And that's all it really takes is like if you're a writer, some days I wouldn't want to write, but I just sat at my computer and I was like, I told myself from 4 to 5 today I'm writing. So I would sit at my computer at 4 o'clock and I would write a paragraph in that hour. And I would be like, all right, well, at least I wrote 5 sentences.
Yes.
It might not have been a productive hour, but at least I wrote 5 sentences. That's 5 sentences I didn't have yesterday. And then it's fine if sometimes those things don't come to anything. So like if you're an actor and you submit to a casting call and nothing happened from it, you didn't get called in, you still did something and it still kept you motivated for that day. Even if it was 5 minutes on Tuesday and you submitted it and you never heard back, at least you did something. And I say it's just as relevant in getting any job. If you submit to a job once a day, like you need a job, so you submit to one on LinkedIn or something every day, eventually you'll get a job, but 90% of those you won't hear back from. That's okay. It's still, you're still doing something every day.
Yes. All about the mindset.
Yeah, it keeps you motivated.
Yes. Motivation is key. It really is.
It is, and it's something that we lose so easily.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of motivation, college students have a question. And for college students going into the workforce, what is your advice on making yourself stand out in the best way at your new job?
Well, there's a few things. Before you get the job, having all the tools that you need, like a great solid resume. I included a resume example in here of like, there's some old timey things that we don't need in resumes anymore. And then there's some stuff you definitely do need in resumes. Like keep your email address in there, but do not put your address unless you want a brand new, freshly baked stalker. Like do not include your actual address. You're putting this on the internet.
Yeah.
Having a good like LinkedIn profile, even if it's just your college and a picture of you, that's fine. But also cleaning up your social media pages so that it's not like you holding a million solo cups and photos like that's, or private. Making it private is also an option. So that's before you get the job. Then when you do get the job, just being eager. Don't talk all the time. You're young. You're not supposed to know everything. You're still learning. Like you are still there to learn and grow. So when they say, this is how we do it, you don't have to interrupt them every second and be like, oh, I already learned that. I already know that. Just sit quiet and learn it, because if you let them finish, you might still learn something you don't know. Like I see it all the time too when I hire people is I'll hire somebody and be like, okay, this is our software. And immediately, almost immediately, every college kid is like, oh yeah, we learned that in school. And I'm like, cool, but here's how we use it here. Like, yes, you learn the software, but you learn the software in the way that your professor wanted you to learn it. And that's great. I hired you because you know it. Like now that you know it, let me show you what we do with it here. And then it's more taking on anything that you're willing to take on, ask for it, because they may not even think of you when something comes up. But if you know how to do it and you think you can contribute, ask for the opportunity. There's no harm in saying, I think I can do this, and then them saying, yeah, but we're going to actually have this guy do it for today, and being like, oh, okay, at least you looked willing.
Yes. And they're going to remember that too.
They are. And they're going to be like, oh, okay, so she wants to take on more. Cool. Let me find something cool for her to do. But it may not be what you think it is.
Yeah.
But
And that's
even,
okay too.
Eagerness is great. Everybody loves somebody that wants to jump in.
I love it. That's going to be me. So that's a good news to me.
Good. Yes. And sometimes it's not a person's natural stance is to put themselves out there. Sometimes it's really hard. So it can be
Yeah.
as simple as like I used to be really shy about that kind of thing. So when I would do my job, I would be like, oh, I can totally do that, but I'm way too shy to ask for it. So I would send an email.
Oh,
I would send an email to like my boss who was in an office 30 feet away because I'd be like way too nervous to go in there and hear no to my face. So like it was easier to be rejected by an unresponded email. Like it would be easier for me to say, hey, I overheard earlier that you need help with social media. I helped my mom's business with her social media. Would it be okay if we did a trial week where I ran our Facebook page? I would love to know what you guys are thinking for it. And then I would send it. And if like I didn't hear anything, it would be like, oh, okay. Like maybe you send a follow-up a few days later, just being like, hey, I see I have a little bit of a late week next week. I'd love to see if this is still an option. Or just letting it go. But like for me, it was way too anxiety ridden to walk into the office and be like, can I do the Facebook this week? I would love that. Like, no, I was way too scared to do that.
no way. Yeah. And there's a lot of people that are like that. So that is very important. Very, very important.
Yeah, it doesn't just because you're shy and you're like a little bit afraid of rejection or whatever it is. There's no need to not put yourself out there. Just find a way that's more comfortable for you.
Yes. Absolutely.
Baby steps.
Yes, absolutely. Love it. One of the first chapters that I wanted to read right away, and like you said, like it's like a book that you can like put down and come back to it when you need it.
Yeah, totally.
First one was Get Comfortable Saying No. I was like, oh no, this is literally for me.
Yeah, some of those chapters people like open up. I have a friend who just opened up the random chapter and she was like, how on earth did I open up to the exact chapter that I needed? Like when the book arrived, she was like, I don't understand how it was a relationship chapter and she's like, this is literally the chapter I needed today.
That's
and
great.
I don't know. I just think that that's how it's supposed to be. Like maybe you play a little book roulette and you just open it up and you see which chapters the universe wants to show you today. The Get Comfortable Saying No chapter is so important, especially for women, especially in our generation, that we were told never say no, but we were never told that directly. We were told you're a woman, so you're going to have to work twice as hard. And that instilled in us as never say no.
Yeah.
Or if you want to be fun, you're the girl that always goes out. You're the girl that like goes to every party and is always on the gram and is like showing up constantly, and that can take a toll on your mental health. And nobody says it's okay to say no. It's okay to say no to the friend who constantly calls you in the middle of the night venting to you, and it's okay to be like, I gotta protect me right now. I gotta protect my own peace. I can't be there for you. Getting comfortable saying no doesn't mean you say no all the time. It means you put you first and you say no to the things that you need to say no to. You can still say yes to the things you want to say yes to, but getting comfortable saying no is more about being comfortable in your own decisions and trusting that your gut is going to tell you what you actually want to do.
Yeah. And what do you think like is the best, or what is your advice when people that get offended by you setting your boundaries, like what do you do in that situation?
There's a couple things that you can do. So you can have the conversation with them and be like, I'm not trying, this isn't personal. This isn't me saying, I am saying no to you because I hate you. Like the reason you're saying no is because you have to protect yourself. And you can explain that to them and say, I'm saying no for me, not for you. I'm saying no because it's what I need right now. And if you're really my friend, like you will respect that this is a boundary for me and this is something that I need. But if you're getting comfortable saying no for relationships, for like best friends or something, and they're not hearing you and they're not respecting that, then that's maybe not the person that you need in your life, because a person that you need in your life would hear the no and respect what you need.
Yeah, absolutely.
Family, it gets harder, but don't worry. The book dives into that. The book definitely dives into what to do when you've got to set boundaries with family.
Yes. I love that. That's again, very important. And it's especially like being in college, about to get out of college in a couple of years, it's like you make these friends and your friendship changes over time while you grow up and you change over time.
Yeah, exactly. You both changed over time. It's got to sort of change with you, or the relationship gets redefined.
Yes, exactly. And I can't believe this went by so fast, but one of my last questions, second to last, is what made you decide on your first and last chapter? Was it like intentional or?
The first chapter was what I believe is the easiest
Mm,
of the career and money stuff, because it truly is literally just the easiest to do. If you're like, I'm going to adult today, I'm going to take one step and just adult really great. That's the easiest thing to do. So I was
yeah.
like, we'll start off on an easy, funny little note. And then the last chapter of the book is just fucking do it.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's put the book down. Now you've learned it. Now go out into the world and implement it. And here's how to stop procrastinating. Like, here's why it matters to go do it. And like we talked about, like, if you don't do it, somebody else will.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to do it for you, but somebody might do it instead of you. And if you want it, you've got to be the one to do it. Nobody's going to live your life for you. Nobody's going to make your dreams happen for you.
Mhm.
So just put the book down and go live your life.
Yes. And would you say that is like the number one thing you would want readers to take away from?
The number one thing that I want readers to take away from it is to keep asking questions.
Mm.
Because just because something was learned doesn't mean it's not going to be learned again. There are lessons that we learn in different aspects of our lives. Like sometimes I learn a lesson in one relationship and then it shows up differently in another relationship, or I learn a lesson in one part of my life that a few years later comes back in a different way. But we stopped asking questions somewhere around a Google search engine invention. We stopped asking questions to each other and we started asking it to Google instead.
Mhm.
But the answers you get on Google are so overwhelming because it's pages upon pages of links, and everybody on these links has a different answer.
Mhm.
And the pages are endless, and you're just scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and trying to find an answer, and you can't. So ask questions to your friends, your family, the people in your life. They're the ones that know you.
Yeah.
Google doesn't know you. Google doesn't know like your experience or the way you react to things, or can tell you a personal story that will let you relate to it. But people in your life will. Your
Mhm.
friends will, your family will. So start there. And I want people to get less afraid to ask questions to each other. We got so afraid of it
Mhm.
because of insecurities, because of shame, because at one point in your life you raised your hand in class and you asked a question and somebody was like, that's a stupid question. And then you never asked a question again because like little Johnny in the back got mean to you. So I encourage people to step a little bit outside their comfort zone and start asking questions.
Yes. Oh my goodness. That is fabulous. The way
Thank
you
you.
talk is literally poetry. Like I could listen to it all day.
Thanks. Well, good thing you got a book then.
Yes. I love it. Is there anything else you want to add, you want to say, promote yourself?
I mean, the book sort of speaks for itself, but you can find me on Instagram at shit adults never taught us. You can also email me. I love when people read the book and then email me questions based on chapters that they've read. Like, not everybody has a podcast and is like, what would you do with the get comfortable saying no section? Like, that's a great tool. So feel free to email me if you read a chapter and you're like, I need to know this. It's
Mhm.
shit adults never taught us at gmail.com. The book is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Apple Books, Google Play Books, like all the places you buy books. Then there's also a website that is merch, and you can get like cool crop top hoodies or like a bath mat with quotes, and it's shitadultsnevertaughtus.com. So that's everything.
Yay. Oh my goodness. Natasha, thank you so much for coming on, giving us your wisdom and promoting your amazing book. Please, please go follow her and read the book. You need it.
Thank you. Yeah, and I like fully encourage people buying a copy and then just sharing it amongst friends. I'm like,
Love it.
everybody needs it. Like I've done that where like I give it to a friend and I'm like, here, you need this chapter right now. Like it's not meant to be this like big New York Times bestseller. It's meant to just literally be a manual. That's just a funny little thing that lives in your closet.
Love it. Love it. And that's exactly, it's going to go right with the rest of my books over there.
Love it.
Thank you so much again. This was so
Thank you.
fun. Yay.
Oh my gosh, I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode as much as I did. What a great way to come back. I'm so excited to be back, and I'm so excited to learn along with you guys, especially from things in Natasha's book. I mean, come on. Come on. And like she said, not everyone has a podcast where she can, just answer questions right on the spot. Please feel free to email her, like she said, and, let me know what you think of it as well. I'm really excited to be able to highlight her in this amazing book, and anything to help us get through this crazy transition that is adulthood is going to help. So I'm so excited. That was so fun. And as usual, if you want to follow us along our podcast journey, you can follow all of our social medias at The Adult Algorithm and our Twitter, adult_algorithm. Hey, you've seen I'm starting to post a little bit more. Same with the TikTok. Please go support us. I would love it so much. And if you want to leave a review, please do so. I would appreciate it so much. I love the constructive criticism. And I'm growing every day just as you all are. Same with this podcast. And we have some really big things coming up in the future. So I will see you all next week to help you grow into your potential. This is Jasmine with The Adult Algorithm signing off. Bye.